Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, obviously enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, February 26th, 2026. 26s are wild. This is live show, no, not 26, but 1,293. If you're not overly familiar with the show, super casual around here, just hanging out, having fun, talking about the latest in tabletop role-playing game news. And then we'll usually chat about a topic, maybe every once in a while do a bit of an AMA or just chew the fat with chat, which we sort of did last night together. It was going to be a topic, and we just sort of were on it and off and back on it, and that was cool. I didn't have an issue with it. So that's kind of how this show operates. So we are certainly not engaged in anything like rocket surgery or things along those lines. Now, just hanging out, having some fun. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. In fact, now you're going to start seeing more board game news only pop up as news pieces on thegaminggang.com. I know I talked to a couple of publishers recently, and they were kind of sad. They're board game publishers, kind of sad that the Dispatch, the Gaming Gang, has kind of shifted to role-playing games over the past, gosh, now it's like 4 years or so. So I said, hey, I've got no problem putting news pieces up. That's no big deal. So you will see a little bit more as far as board game news over on thegaminggang.com. But you're not here to chat about the website. Oh, no. No, you're not. In fact, if you are watching live, because this is live, there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part. But if you check off that box and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Keith Ulu. Mike is with us. The Madman, one of our chat moderators and Patreon members extraordinaire, is hanging with us, as is Kathy Evans and Kevin King. And we may even have our other chat moderator, the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D, hanging with us tonight, lurking in the shadows with her glittery banhammer. So, welcome, everybody. Going to be kind of a crazy day tomorrow in the Chicagoland area. It's going to get to about 61 degrees. And then on Saturday, it will be a high of 35. Like, yeah, here we go. Here we go with that. Yep. No, thankfully, I have to take, well, I guess I shouldn't say thankfully. I have to take my mom to a doctor's appointment, just, regular scheduled, checkup or whatever tomorrow. Thank goodness it's going to be about 60. So I'll be like, yeah, okay. All right. That's not so bad. All right, Mike. Let's see. I already said Mike's here. Mark Hawkswell's with us, as is Azrael Fion. I think I'm close on that. Michael Berry is also joining us tonight. Looks like chat is off and running. Oh, Semper Buffos also popping on in. So let's jump on into the news. The latest action flick supplement has arrived for the Outgunned role-playing game from Two Little Mice and Free League Publishing. I've got the skinny on Volume 3. Action Flicks Volume 3 is a video store of mini expansions for Outgunned, the cinematic role-playing game. It's a collection of ideas, mechanics, tips, and tools to get straight into the action in ever-changing and surprising contexts. In this book, you'll find 10 action flicks. There's Good Boys. Get ready to leap into action while playing as an adorable hero on 4 paws. V for Villain. Spread chaos and destruction, or do your best to do the right thing for once in your life. Gods and Men. Challenge the fury of the gods and reclaim your rightful place among the heroes of legend. Beast Unleashed. Listen to the call of the wild and release the beast that lies within. There's also Killing Machines. Face terrible killer robots or join the fight as a heroic android. Steel Titans. Jump on board your Steel Titan and fight against the terrible threat of kaiju. We also have Only Human. Step into the shoes of a powerless but extremely determined human and challenge evil superheroes. And, you know, these all have shows and movies that jump directly to mind. I don't know if you're watching on a large enough screen, but the cover for Action Flicks, the character that they have on the cover of all the Action Flicks, I guess they're the kind of the Outgunned mascot, is in a comic book shop, and behind her is a character who looks suspiciously like Spider-Man with a few changes. Yes. We've also got time travel. Get ready to travel back and forth in time and to deal with annoying time anomalies. High Octane, get in your hot rod and blaze pedal to the metal in the race of life. We also get Power Guardians to wrap things up. Transform into a colorful guardian and fight to protect the world against the forces of evil. The 208-page PDF is available now over at DriveThruRPG for $14. So, as Relifian has shared the pronunciation guide, they said, yeah, I need to change it. We've got Havocan with us tonight. For some reason, the nickname rings a bell. Maybe first-time visit, but I think that they've popped in previously. Might have just been a while. So yes, we get more Outgunned stuff. As I pointed out earlier this week, there is a lot from Free League Publishing and Two Little Mice that's all hitting at one time. So Stephen from Roll for Combat is asking if I'm going to GaryCon. I'm wearing a GaryCon hat. I do not have tickets. I don't have any tickets to go. I know Stephen had mentioned at Page that he had an extra ticket if I wanted to go for a day. I'm leaving that up to Stephen. But no, I don't. I did not get passes. So there is that. So, yes, there you go. So Stephen's saying, yep, I got tickets. Yes, he's gonna just flaunt them. Look at these tickets I've got. That's exactly how Stephen laughs, too. You may not know that, but I do know that for a fact. Moving right along, the final volume of the massive Gods of the Forbidden North adventure campaign is now available in print and PDF. Here's the scoop. The third and final chapter of the Emmy Award-winning Gods of the Forbidden North series has arrived. Experience the epic conclusion to the world's biggest published adventure. The 608-page third volume is designed for a heroic party of 6 to 8 adventurers to begin at 9th level and reach 14th level by the book's conclusion. This trilogy is the only mega adventure product on the market designed specifically for the Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy rule set out of the box as written. I should toss in that does not necessarily mean that you could not run this with another OSR retro clone or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Just take a tiny bit of converting, but not a bunch. Combined with the previous 2 books, Gods of the Forbidden North boasts the following exciting features. Get ready for this. 16,154,437 experience points from monsters and treasure. 1,110 fully detailed mega dungeon locations. 52 new monsters. 30 new magic items. 20 additional rumors concerning Castle Tharganon. 4 major dungeon factions with clearly defined goals and consequences to their defeat. 2 new massive kaiju-like demons of the north, the Tarngrak. 2 epic boss monsters. Dolphin Watch, a high-level adventuring guild based inside the castle. A full glossary of names. A meticulously hyperlinked index. Of course, those are with the PDFs, not the physical books. A random wandering monster activity table. Dozens of behind-the-scene design notes for the referee. There's a greatly simplified encounter design for Old School Essentials based on the 1991 Rules Cyclopedia's original encounter balance system. There are end-of-chapter adventure reward summaries listing XP goals gleaned from monsters and treasure, as well as treasure locations and all recoverable magic items. You will also get 266 zipped art files in a PNG format, useful for handouts at your gaming table, as well as virtual tabletop play. 70 zipped map files in labeled and unlabeled formats, useful for handouts at the gaming table and, once again, virtual tabletop campaigns. The 608-page hardcover with PDF can be had right now over at DriveThruRPG for $72.99. It's normally priced at I think $102.99. But with most things DriveThruRPG, you can never tell if that's going to end up being the price or if it's always got the markdown. You know what I mean, jelly beans? Sometimes we see, oh, look, it's slashed through the regular price and this is a new price. Like it's a sale price, because this may be a sale price. It is very possible. Now, if you want to grab just the PDF alone, you can do so for $29.99. You know, there's a guy I know really well, who has reviewed the first 2 volumes of Gods of the Forbidden North and also interviewed Robert Alderman at Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo 3. Wonder who that could be. Oh, wait a second. That's me. That's right. If you want to check out the reviews for the first 2 volumes, I do have video reviews of them. Give you a little too long, didn't read. Very, very good stuff. It is excellent. In fact, they have made my favorite role-playing game releases when they have come out. So I'm going to take a wild guess that the physical copies should be arriving soon. I know when these print volumes appear at DriveThruRPG, you're not going to get them immediately. I think it's usually 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks once you place your order, because they have to kind of get up to speed on the print on demand. But looks really sharp. And I got to say, if you are familiar with the previous 2 volumes, this looks like it's right up there. In fact, honestly, looks like there's even a little more artwork included in this volume. Pretty sweet. All right, let's see. We have got Kevin R. Smith and Danny Gable, as well as W. Forge joining us. Oh, I see Troy Cornelson is also with us in chat. Chat is off, rocking and rolling. So I should mention tonight's topic we're going to talk about after the news and that is Game Masters fudging dice rolls. Now, that kind of came up last night. So I want to get into a little more about that. I think that makes for an interesting discussion. And I will tell you what I think of it. And I honestly believe that will maybe irritate some folks out there. But I'll explain why. On our next news item, there is a new bundle of holding by way of Storm Bunny Studios, and it features Mists of Akuma. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventura. This all-new Mists of Akuma bundle presents, well, you guessed it, Mists of Akuma, the tabletop role-playing campaign setting of Eastern fantasy noir steampunk from Storm Bunny Studios for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. After decades of rebellion, the 24 warrior clans of Soberin have overthrown the technologically advanced Kenjin and restored the Masudo imperial dynasty. But Emperor Hiroshi, get ready, I'm going to just butcher all these Asian names and things like that, struggles to control the divided prefectures as they war among themselves with tattooed monks, herbalists, steam-augmented bushibots, clockwork adepts, henji yokai shapeshifters, spell swords, gun priests, warlocks of the enigmatic eye, Jangurako spies, and forbidden mechanisms. Boy, that was a mouthful there, wasn't it? No, face a greater threat. The legendary mists sweep the land, bringing monsters and corrupting all they touch. From San Bayoshi's imperial court and heavenly estates to the destruction forges of Kyofu, from the dockside tea houses of Nagabuki's Iron Quarter to the Oni-haunted Badlands, adventurers of every clan and background, shinobi shadow warriors, ronin, heretical technologists, even gaijin, must confront factional rivalries, conspiracies of dark magic, and the cost of survival. Mists of Akuma expands the Dungeons & Dragons 5e rules with 15 diverse new lineages. You ready? Hengayokai, Necroji, Tanaku, Steametic, Oni-touched, backgrounds, disgraced amputee, pragmatist, Yamabushi, 24 class subtypes, acrobat, detective, desperado, ninja, Shino Bybot, inside out wizard, Wuzhen warlock, feats, cannon wielder, mistwalker, shameless combatant, and 22 new martial arts stances. You have 2 special ability scores, dignity, your status and sense of self, and Haikotu, fall from virtue, the degree to which the mists have corrupted you in moral, spiritual, and even physical ways. Equip yourself with a 9-section steel whip, hooked sword, alchemical smoke bombs, and telescopic arm augmentic, and spells like blood bullets, spirit tea, and vengeance of the ancestors. And you'll be just about ready to face chaotic Oni, imperial dragons, and rogue Kenjin generals, and perhaps even the terrifying mists themselves. This all-new Mists of Akuma bundle gives you both versions of the 5e campaign book, 2 full-scale adventure paths, the Imperial Matchmaker Sandbox campaign, and much more. All for a price even an impoverished village could afford to pay 7 samurai to defend them from bandits. For just $12.95. You'll get all 6 titles in the starter collection, which has a retail value of $77, as DRM-free PDFs, including a complete Mists of Akuma 5e campaign book, both in its original 2017 version for the 5e rules and its anniversary edition for 5e 2024, plus the introductory adventure A Village Corrupted and the free Soberin Primer, or Primer as some folks like to say, along with the GM screen, Soberin Ancestries, character backgrounds, and a volume of mini encounters, Soberin Vignettes. If you pay more than the current threshold price of $25.11, that may have changed by a few cents since I put together this news piece, you'll level up and also get the entire bonus collection with 5 more 5th edition titles worth an additional $97, including the Imperial Matchmaker campaign sourcebook and its Iconics tome volume of non-player characters, the 6 scenario Trade War adventure path, and the Beyond the Great Divide adventure path, and the 2nd volume of Soberin Vignettes. These savings will run through March 16th. Very nice. Interesting. That was not an easy news piece to read. Hey, come on, I treat English like a second language. So when you start throwing out Asian terms at me, but I got to say, looks like this is a pretty jam-packed bundle of holding. So if you are looking for something that's a little bit different as far as an Asian theme for your 5e, well, look no further and save some money at the same time. 245 Trioxin and Chris Lundgren are with us tonight. Welcome to you both. There is an interesting looking old school inspired role-playing game that's now entering its final week on Kickstarter. Or I should say it is now in its final week. I think there are 6 days left as I speak. It is from Postworldgames, and I've got the latest on the ossuary in PDF. There was a time when fantasy role-playing games were sharp, printed in black and white, half explained, dangerous in the margins. Every new character class felt like it might break the game. The Ossuary is a tabletop role-playing game built to reset fantasy back to that moment, not towards nostalgia as comfort, but nostalgia as wonder. This is a game about violence, memory, and consequence. Character classes don't just give you abilities. They rewrite the rules. This is not a class list. It's a set of experimental design mutations. The ossuary is not balanced. It is curated design. In the ossuary, classes are not balanced against each other. They are balanced against the campaign. Choosing a class is choosing what kind of damage you want the campaign to suffer. This is a traditional fantasy role-playing game with players, characters, a game master, monsters, dungeons, and adventure. Gameplay involves a d20 for most actions and damage dice. You already know how to play this game. The rules are short and the mechanics are simple. What makes it unique is how character classes are structured. Everything you need is on the character sheet. You can begin playing in minutes. The ossuary adds a few structural innovations. There are no levels. Advancement is built directly onto the character sheet. Just check off a new benefit each time you advance. Long-term injuries and consequences are tracked on the sheet too. If you can cast spells, they are on your sheet. Sheet level system design minimizes cognitive load and rules referencing. Essentially, the game does all the work. You just play the game. Now, this Kickstarter is fully funded. You can reserve a copy of the PDFs. It's only going to be available in PDF for a pledge of $25. If you want to grab just the 3 core PDFs, rules, monsters, and setting, you can do so for a $12 pledge through March 4th. Expected fulfillment is this September. Now, there is a short video. It's only like 30 seconds in length, so I didn't grab it. But I did notice that there is a blurb in the video saying this is sort of a mashup of Shadow Dark and Mjörkborg. So take that as you will. I got to say, this sounds pretty interesting. And the reality, for 25 bucks, you're not really risking that much. Even if, as a game master, you were to get some cool ideas to utilize at your game table, this would probably be worth backing. So like you said, I just kind of stumbled across this. I saw this and I thought, hey, you know, that sounds pretty interesting. Pretty cool. 245 Triaxon says, I like the art. Definitely go and check out the Kickstarter. The 30-second video flashes some artwork. So you'll get to see a little bit more artwork. I noticed in the video, some of the artwork looked more kind of Shadow Darkish, which is fine. I'm not saying anything about it, but as you can see here, this looks more like pencils, whereas Shadow Dark art tends to be heavier, kind of bolder ink lines and a lot of shadow and stuff. But still, like I said, caught my eye, thought I would share it with you. All right, final news piece. The AD&D / Osric Tale Dungeon Delve Side Quest number 2, The Lost Caravan from Dungeoneers Guild Games is now available in print and PDF. The annual caravan bound for Insarna Castle is weeks overdue. The lords who rule over this remote castle are worried that some grave calamity has befallen it. Since resupplying the garrison is of vital importance to the realm, this is highly alarming. They urgently seek a group of capable adventurers to locate the missing caravan somewhere in the wild expanse that surrounds the route to Insarna. Time grows short for the missing men and supplies. Can your party of adventurers solve this mystery before it's too late? The Lost Caravan is a 16-page role-playing module with a world generic setting for 4 to 7 characters, levels 3 to 5. In this adventure, the player characters must solve the mystery of what happened to a caravan bound for a remote castle. The trail leads the party through a stretch of bleak wilderness where fire newts look to ambush the unwary. Ultimately, all roads lead to a hidden system of caves where the final enemy, here comes a spoiler, get ready, here it comes, a demon-possessed dragon hides. And this is for 3rd to 5th level characters? Well, it is for up to 7. So, yeah, okay, maybe. All right. Keep in mind, this is for use with 1st edition rules, or like I said, Osric. I'm sure you could probably tweak this for Old School Essentials, Advanced Fantasy, without too much work. So, this includes 1 wilderness and 2 dungeon maps, 10 wilderness and 33 dungeon encounter areas. Also includes special rules, events, and adventure background for the game master. You'll find 1 new monster, the Lasher, and 2 new magic items. The print edition can be had with the PDF at DriveThruRPG for $12.19. If you want to score just PDF, you can do so for $4.99. I will say, according to DriveThruRPG, it says it's 21 pages. This information, the sell sheet info, says it's 16 pages. So I'm thinking the adventure itself is clocking in at 16 pages. The other 5 pages are probably stat blocks for the monsters, the magic items, things like that. So this might end up being 21 pages in length. So there you go. You might be curious, like, wait a second, Jeff, you just shared a news piece from this same company. Wasn't it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I don't think it was Tuesday. It's like, what are these guys paying you now? No, but I did feel that I'm not giving Osric enough love. Stuff that's out there for Osric, not necessarily from Mythmere Games, but things that are released, new stuff for Osric or like AD&D. So I stumbled across this company. This stuff looks pretty good. Gotta say, artwork looks phenomenal. It looks like an old module. Can't tell you how the adventures are, but they're not going to set you back a whole ton of ducats either. So there is that. All right, let's see. DB is with us in chat. Daryl Arrett is also swinging on in. I think I just mentioned Daryl before, but I think I've said hello to everybody who's hanging out with us tonight. All righty. So that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I did mention Drive-Thru RPG a few times. Don't forget, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of the many One Bookshelf sites out there, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those commissions really do add up and help keep the gaminggang.com website around. And of course, if you happen to like this video, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. If you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do around these here parts, there are a couple other ways that you can support the outlet. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. It's a fine vintage there. You can also become a monthly member of our Patreon. You'll find links in the show notes. Also, down in those show notes, you'll find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up. Be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. Although I got to say, it is kind of quiet over on the Discord server. Thought there'd be a little more conversation going on, but it's okay. Hey, it's an easy way for you to keep track of, like, if you don't want to follow me on social media. It's a great way to see, okay, well, here's the news pieces. Oh, there you go. Here are all the news pieces. Here are the new videos. All those goodies. So there is that. Anyway, I always like to say thank you to our Patreon members. Give them a tip of the cap every live stream. So big thank you to Kuval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Matt Weiss, Kevin King, GameCat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Pete Strakolich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, and the Madman. Thank you kindly, everybody. So as I mentioned, tonight's topic, we're going to talk about Game Masters fudging dice rolls. Try to see how things stack up. See who in chat feels what. Also, of course, if you're watching this after the fact, on Memorex, definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section as well. But we'll get to that in just a few moments. You may remember I have shared a first look video at Pirate Borg Starter Set. And this is packed. This is packed. And the dice inside here, super cool. They're resin dice. Nice, chunky. Chris Lundgren says, you already know how he feels about this. Yes. Well, we're gonna discuss. We'll discuss. Let's see. Zarian has joined us. Says, I see Pendragon on the shelf. I also have the faux leather special edition, the red volume. My friends, I want to say, I think it was Brian Holland with Chaosium Inc. Yes, it was Brian. Gave me that at Gen Con and said, hey, this is a special thank you for all the great videos you've done, because it's a pretty limited edition. I think you'd still get it, but Pete Straklich is chiming in. Don't chime in yet. We're not getting to the topic yet. We will in a few moments. Or maybe that's what I should be doing. That, dope. No typing yet. Man. Anyway. So you may have seen the video. If not, you should check it out, especially if you're kind of curious about Pirate Borg. It's my favorite Borg. Anyway, so you already know I got a package that contained this, as well as Down Among the Dead and the Game Master screen. So I'm going to be taking a look at both of these together in one video. I'm going to try to get that out there this weekend, but I'm really aiming to get the review of this out this weekend. So yesterday, I got a package that contained Cabin Fever. So remember, I shared news about Cabin Fever, and then when I mentioned, oh, I got the package with the starter set for Pirate Borg, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of surprised I didn't get Cabin Fever with it. So this arrived also in the box. Yeah, this looks familiar, eh? As well as so obviously I don't need 2 copies of this. I don't need 2 copies of this. So I'm going to have a contest. And the contest will be part of my review of the starter set. So I wanted to give folks who are watching the dispatch the heads up. So if I can get the review out, because I'm really looking to try to get the review of the starter set for Pirate Borg, as well as the Coriolis, the Great Dark, the Flowers of Algarab review out. I'm almost done reading this. Pirate Borg is, I think, grand total, it's like 120 pages or so. So that should be pretty easy to rock through. And I've got some other stuff I want to get videos out there for. So just want to let you know ahead of time that there is going to be a Pirate Borg starter set and Down Among the Dead contest that I am going to roll out. It's going to be the same thing as always, right? It's going to be a subscriber. Hopefully you like the video. And, you know, one of these days I should do something different. I should do something where it's like you score a point for every person you get to comment on the video. I'm gonna try that one of these days. So be like, oh yeah, here's the answer to the question, and the madman sent me, you know? So yeah, but not for this. I'll stick to the usual. What is it about Pirate Borg that maybe you're curious about, that you would like to check out? Mark Edwards is with us tonight, as is Zorak Zoran. So welcome to you both. Somebody just said 7 of 9 is their favorite Borg. Oh, W Forge. Keith Lewis says Hugh is a close second. Yeah, that was back when Star Trek was good. Well, okay. I don't know. I didn't really watch Voyager. I watched like half the first season. I was like, it's okay. It was all right. But Kevin R. Smith says, how many Borg characters are there in Star Trek canon? The 2 mentioned, as well as the Queen. Well, we also have Locutus of Borg. Kevin R. Smith, oh my God, all that babble was, you will be assimilated, resistance is futile in Swedish. Yes, Borg, the Swedish chef, wise words. Kevin R. Smith says, yeah, but Locutus was only temporarily a Borg. No, Locutus was a Borg. Picard was temporarily Locutus. Chris Leonard says Voyager was an amazing show after season 2. You know, that's one of the problems I have with the older. Well, okay, let's be honest. I haven't watched a ton of the newer Star Trek. I can tell right out the bat that Starfleet Academy is probably not for me. Just I can just get the feeling that that's, and I would rather not watch a show that just irritates me. So I'd rather be watching something like A Night of the Seven Kingdoms or something, as opposed to sitting there like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to try to force feed this show to check out. Chris Leonard says, Next Gen Season 1 was awful as well. It wasn't great. I mean, with Star Trek reruns, it was always like Star Trek The Next Generation reruns. If you saw Riker with a beard, it was like, all right, well, we'll watch this. If Riker didn't have a beard, it was kind of like, but yeah, there's something else on. And Better with Bacon, as well as Anthony Simeone, are with us. Welcome. Anthony asks, has anyone created a game called Borg yet? No, there is a Kickstarter right now for, it's a board game, and the title is close to that. But, or Mork. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Let's screw with their copyright. It's Mork. Anyway, but with the Star Trek shows like Deep Space Nine, Voyager, I don't know. Enterprise was okay. I liked Enterprise first season. I would have liked to have them actually had completed the story arc before they pulled the plug on it, but 245 Triaxon says they've been considering picking up Corp Borg. Yes, I have heard of that. I don't think I've shared news about it, though. I kind of shy away from sharing too much third-party Borg stuff because, let's be honest, a lot of it is just a steaming pile of dog shit. But, yeah. So, you don't have to worry about it. Well, Jeff, what do you think of that? I just told you. Chris Leonard says the video's pausing and dropping. Let's see. Not on my end. Everything is A-okay. We have not dropped a single frame. But anyway, it was kind of funny because I had a friend who loved Deep Space Nine. And of course, this is after the show was, over. And he was telling me, he's like, dude, you gotta watch it from season 3 on. It is excellent. And I'm like, I don't want to sit through 40 some episodes of the first 2 seasons of before it gets really good. And yes, I know Worf. I think people all talk about it's like when Worf shows up, the show got good. I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, it wasn't terrible. But, like Discovery, I watched Discovery. I didn't watch the last season because it had kind of worn out its welcome with me. I watched the first season of Picard. I thought it was all right. And then I started watching the second season. And I was like, what the hell? This is just Star Trek 4. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then I think I watched the first episode of season 3. And I was like, I never feel any sort of obligation to watch a show. I just don't. I do not have FOMO when it comes to stuff on TV. I just don't. If I start watching something and in 3 episodes, the show has not at least whet my appetite, I'm like, no. Because there's so much other stuff out there. And it's like, why should I waste my time watching this? There's tons of other stuff I can check out. So anyway, DB said they just had a 50-second commercial. Kevin R. Smith says they watched the first couple of seasons of Enterprise. Their impression was it got worse as it went along. I'll tell you what I wasn't so keen on. And I happen to like attractive women, and nudity does not bother me. But it got to the point where it was kind of like, what's with this like fan service? It was like, it's like, I'm not expecting to see hard nipples in Star Trek episodes. It's just not something I had on my bingo card. And I was kind of like, all right, okay. Anyway, DB says, I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but if it stinks now, I would bet it's because of Alex Kurtzman. I have heard that the two folks who are in charge of Star Trek now have essentially, who was it? There's some content creator just had a video out. Is it critical drinking or something like that? I didn't really catch the video, but the title was something like, well, they should shut Star Trek down. Just shut it down to for 15 years. Let it simmer and bring it back. They're talking the same thing with like Doctor Who. Just take a break from Doctor Who, because all you're doing is just making it worse. So W4 says Jeff's admitting to being a Game of Thrones fan. I watched Game of Thrones. I didn't care for the last season. So DB says critical drinker is a right-wing grifter. I don't know his stuff, or if it is a guy. Like I said, I didn't watch it. Just popped up in my feeds. Like I said before, for some reason, YouTube loves to shove stuff at me that I have absolutely no interest in. But so 245 Trioxin says, oh, that last doctor cried in every episode. Keith Ula says Enterprise had some good stories. Yeah, it was fine. Once again, you're going back to a time where, yes, we had more science fiction and stuff on TV. In fact, I think at that same point when Enterprise was on, I think we also had Farscape was on. And you had some options. You had some choices out there. So it wasn't as bad as when you're growing up and it's like, oh, we got oh my gosh, Star Wars, ah. And then it's like, oh, ABC is going to have this show, Battlestar Galactica, whoa. And you had maybe 2 or 3 options all week long to watch as far as science fiction. Fantasy was practically non-existent. But Chris Lundgren doesn't like Farscape. Oh, looks like a fight going to break out between W. Forge and Chris Lundgren. Man, there's some feistiness in chat lately. Chris Lundgren's starting trouble. Chat moderators, keep an eye on this guy. He was causing trouble last night. You know, talking about Steven from Roll for Combat. That was kind of funny. I was like, Chris, you know the guy's right here in chat with you, right? Like, DB says the powers of Matthew Starr. I don't remember that one. I mean, there was a decent amount of like really shitty science fiction or fantasy that was syndicated. And yes, I know somebody out there is going to be like, oh, hey, Babylon 5, Jeff, you got to check it out. Yes, I have heard people tell me about. I watched first few episodes and I did not like the special effects. I did not like the special effects at all, which was really taking it away from me. But Misfits of Science, I remember that. DB says their favorite science fiction show was Elf. You must not like cats then. So anyway, but anyway, the point of all of this chatting was, hey, keep your eyes peeled for when I do my review, because you'll get into the running for this giveaway. I'm going to give both of these away to one lucky winner. And of course, I'll choose randomly, like I always do. Keith Lewis says, watch out, that glittery band hammer's on standby. So tonight, we are going to chat a little bit about Game Masters and fudging dice rolls. But first, there's a little thing that I like to do on all of my live streams. Maybe you're familiar with it. It's what I like to call a brief intermission.
Visit our snack bar and treat yourself to some delicious Castleberry's pit-cooked barbecue sandwiches. Cook the Castleberry way, slowly over open pits of glowing charcoal, then seasoned with a sauce that's zesty, yet delightfully mild to please the entire family. Also at the snack bar, you'll find popcorn and soft drinks and candy and French fries to go with your Castleberry's barbecue sandwiches. There's plenty of time before the movie starts, so visit our snack bar right now for Castleberry's pit-cooked barbecue sandwiches.
Yes, there's an air about hot coffee that's hard to resist. Full-bodied, refreshing hot coffee makes any time a pleasant interlude. Won't you have some now?
What's funny?
Potato chips in that? You're kidding.
No, Pringles newfangled potato chips.
Newfangled?
Yeah, the ones that stay fresh.
Potato chips that stay fresh.
Yeah, and not broken.
Not broken. Ooh, who sold you that, Charlie?
No, kid. Look, crushed fruit canister. And airtight. Now watch, Joe, because there's a whole bag full of chips in here.
Hey, they're not broken.
I know. Fresh. And Pringles stay fresh. You can recap them.
Hey, look how they stack together.
Made a new way. That's why the canister holds as many chips as a big bag.
How about that? Unbroken potato chips that stay fresh. You know, this Pringles guy should be taken seriously. Pringles newfangled potato chips.
This volunteer doesn't drink Wilkins Instant Coffee.
I hope you know what you're doing.
Oh, I do.
As early as the year 793 AD, a lusty horde of blonde giants with an African slave began to boldly sail these seas.
Row!
Braving wild winds and waves and warnings of fearful death, they turned their eyes westward, beyond the setting sun.
Praise be to our god Odin, for we have found the new land of the west. To Odin! To Odin!
The new land they named Vineland. We call it America. These men from Norway gave history one of the greatest warriors it has ever known. And he was called a Norseman. The Norseman stars Lee Majors, Cornell Wilde, Mel Ferrer, Susie Coelho, Jack Elam, and Deacon Jones. This is the story of the men who discovered America 6 centuries before Columbus and encountered on its eastern shores the fierce Iroquois Indians. Charles B. Pierce's The Norseman.
I see the combat between the Norsemen and the Native Americans consisted of a lot of wrestling. What the hell? They're like being knocked over with the shield wall. All they're doing, run up, they're hitting the shields and then they fall down. Or they run up and the Norsemen just throw them over their shoulder just flip them over. Like, yeah, okay. I get the feeling that that was a film that was made and just kind of sat around. And then when the $6 Million Man was a hit for ABC, that movie reemerged and they gave Lee Majors top billing. I mean, that delivery about Odin, oh man, that's right up there with "Over yonder lies the castle of my father." DB says it looks like it was a film that their friends and them used to make with the Super 8. It was like, was that Lee Majors? It was Lee Majors. Hey, I aim to please with those brief intermissions. What can I tell you? So tonight's topic, which kind of got into last night a little bit, is about Game Masters fudging dice rolls. And I did a little thinking about it, and I kind of came to a realization. Now, I'm kind of curious what people in chat think, as well as those of you who are watching after the stream is over. Definitely want your comments in chat also. But I kind of get the impression that how you feel about fudging a dice roll as a game master is going to have a lot to do with the sort of game master you are and what you're looking to accomplish at your table. As I mentioned yesterday, I had said it kind of seems as if different games have a different feel for if you are going to be fudging your rolls. Now, of course, obviously enough, if you're rolling dice out in the open in front of your players, yeah, probably not a good idea to just like roll something and be like, oh, no, wait, hang on. You're like, what the hell was the point of rolling the dice in the first place? So Mike asks, what do you mean by fudging dice rolls? So fudging a dice roll is basically rolling dice for like combat or random, encounters, what have you, and going against what the dice says, right? So maybe in combat, the big bad hits for a critical hit on one of your player characters. And, you roll your damage and it's going to be, it's time for a dirt nap for that character. As a game master, are you going to go through with that? Or are you going to fudge the dice roll? So instead of being a critical hit with, a lot of damage, maybe you just make it a little less damage, right? So that they're not killed by that hit. Bard the Bear Wolfson is joining us in chat. I believe it might be a first-time visit for Bard the Bear Wolfson. But anyway, that's fudging dice. Or you roll a miss, but you make it a hit. So not going with the results of the dice and exactly what the dice provide you. That is considered fudging the dice. Or making a die roll and then just ignoring the die roll period as if nothing has happened. Or making a die roll when there's no reason for you to be making a die roll. Those kind of things are what would be fudging the dice. Daryl Aaron says, fudging isn't an accomplishment of any kind. Well, no, I'm not saying it's an accomplishment. Oh, it's Robert Reynolds. There we go. Well, I'm not used to seeing the nickname. So here we go. So this is a great point. So Kevin King points out with Cypher from Monty Cook Games, game masters don't make dice rolls. Now, there are a few games out there where all the dice rolling is in the hands of the players. So that takes all that decision-making out of the hands of the game master, right? So if a player's looking to accomplish something, they make the die roll. If the baddie is trying to hit them in combat, well, the player's rolling to prevent that, to dodge that, or deflect that, or whatever. So the game master doesn't have to worry about that at all. So yes, that is one option there. Anthony Simeone says, I cannot tell a lie. I have occasionally fudged dice, mostly as a young man. In recent years, I've done it much less, and mostly in the player's favor, as Jeff said, to lower damage against players. Mike says, and I got a fellow player who tries to break the game or power play spells, and I would be fine on fudging on those as they hijack the game's story. Anthony also points out it's used to increase tension, keep the drama going. DB says, when I'm teaching kids or playing with new players, I admit I sometimes fudge if someone's having a bad run. Chris Leonard points out paranoia is the same way, players only. Yeah, there are a few different role-playing games out there where you are looking at it's all the players. And part of it is so that the players have no one to blame but themselves. I mean, that is the reality of it. Daryl Aaron says they'd rather give the player a coupon for their next character. Redeem this for one free two-handed weapon. So, Bard the Beer Wolfson says, I will do some fudging in the player's benefit. Chris Leonard says, story's not as important to his players. They understand bad choices. The world isn't always fair. We're not necessarily talking about bad choices. We're not talking about the world not being fair. Depending on how long you've been playing games, but I'm sure many of you out there have rolled a 20-sided die and gotten 2 or 3 20s in a row, and we're like, holy shit. And somebody at the table is like, oh, what is that die loaded? And you've also sat there and you've had dice which provided you with the absolute lowest roll possible multiple times in a row. And I have actually literally seen people take a die like that and throw it. So anything that includes rolling dice, anything that has some sort of a random number generation going on could get really swingy. It's just a fact. Now, do you mitigate those swings as a game master? Well, you're not going to do it for the player's rolls. So would you consider doing it on the game master's rolls? So what I was starting to get to is I think I find that more game masters, or I would think I would find, I should say, more game masters who are more concerned with the game mechanically are going to be far, far less likely to fudge dice rolls. Whereas a game master who is more concerned with everybody at the table having a good time and having a memorable experience, where it's not necessarily the game that is at the heart of it, it's the experience that's at the heart of it, is probably going to be far more likely to fudge dice. And like I pointed out yesterday and kind of started talking about here, is I think the game system will also mitigate that as well. So if you are playing a retro clone or an original game, right? Like, so OD&D or AD&D, Basic Expert, what have you, you're probably less likely to fudge dice rolls. You're going to play it straight. And then you'll also have games where, so here's a great example I'll toss out there. You're the game master and you're running an adventure, and we'll even say it's a published adventure that you've picked up. And I'll use myself as an example. So I'm going to run a Call of Cthulhu adventure for the gang. I have invested time and energy into reading it, making sure I have a real good understanding of how the layers to the onion peel off, right? That's how most Call of Cthulhu adventures are. And it's going to be an adventure that's probably going to take up about 3 sessions is what I'm thinking. I've kind of got a good feeling for it because I know my group. I got a feeling for when we're going to hit our cliffhanger points, because as a game master, I always like to end my sessions on a cliffhanger unless the tale is being completed. Then obviously enough, I'm not going to have a cliffhanger, but I might do a little foreshadowing for what's on the horizon, what's on, down the line here. So I've gone through all this work. We've rolled up characters. We're all set. We're good to go. An hour into the game, through no one's fault, not through bad choices or, not really catching on to clues and stuff like that. Something happens. It's a combat encounter, and it's going to be a total party kill. As a game master, knowing that, okay, so you're already into the adventure, or even let's say maybe this is your second session. You're just starting the second session of an adventure you think's probably going to take 3 sessions, right? And there's a total party kill. Or what is, the dice are basically telling you is going to be a total party kill. But, you spent $30, $40 on this adventure because, you got the physical book or what have you. You've invested time and energy into preparing. And are you going to just be like, yeah, all right, you're all dead. Screw it. So much for that adventure because you're my gang that I play games with. What are we going to do? Just create new characters and pick up from here? I don't know. How did they get involved? Right? I know that's what you're going to end up having to do if you do go with the results of the dice and have a total party kill. You're going to have to pick up new characters, somehow pigeonhole them in there. That, okay, well, this is how, well, this is the guy that filled up the gas tank that overheard you talking about the monster down the road. So Pete Stracklish has this fascination with players fighting each other, I notice. He likes to do Secret Wars stuff with superhero stuff. He's always talking about how his player character is getting killed off in his campaigns. So Pete says, instead of fudging the dice for a total party kill, players could get captured and forced to battle each other. Well, then you're still fudging the dice. If the dice are saying that the player characters need to die, and then you just have them getting captured and forced to battle each other, then start playing that Star Trek music. Dun, 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 dun. I just imagine he's got it on his phone. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. I'm just picturing this in my head. So a game master busting out. Okay, well, here we go. We're to the point in time where the player characters have to fight each other. Hold on. Let me pull this up on my playlist. Let's see. Let's go back to chat, see what folks are saying. Chris said, story's not as important to other players. They understand bad choices and the world isn't always fair. Yes, I did comment about that. Mike says they've joked their RPG games dice roll mechanic would be called best of 3. Man says, I may fudge a few rolls if it's looking like a total party kill, though through no fault of the players. Bad die rolls by all players shouldn't result in a total party kill. Bad play is different. Yes. And I have put to the sword many player characters when their players just were not playing smart or made some really bad choices. In fact, that's how the group of Call of Cthulhu adventurers who completed Massive Nyarlathotep ended up meeting their ends. The players got sloppy. They got away from, the tried and true, okay, we investigate this, we check out this, we get information here, we gather clues. Now they just jump right into stuff, and it was like, Bard the Bear Wolfson says, I didn't want a total party kill against Tiamat. Chris Lundgren gives out death certificates, which takes out the sting. Nah, it doesn't take out the whole sting. It depends. Because I know Chris Lundgren runs a lot of different games. He's always trying out new games. So a lot of times my assumption is the players haven't really bonded with those characters if, every couple of sessions you're playing a different game. So I could see, death certificate. Yeah, that would take the sting out of it. Now, if it's some character you've been playing with 2 years, it's like, womp, womp, womp. Here we go. Here's the death certificate. I mean, it's one thing going to a convention and having, like Ed Greenwood running an adventure, or it was James Ward. James Ward was famous for running Metamorphosis Alpha adventures at conventions and finding just oddball ways to knock characters off. And then you would get like a little certificate. I know Goodman Games does that with a lot of their funnels at conventions as well. So Semper Buffo says they never fudge. But they've also never had a total party kill. Pete Straklich, we know Pete Straklich does not fudge their dice rolls. Kim King says they've had a total party kill roughly every 2 months for 45 years. Did I read that correctly? Man, it's like, oh, hey, Kevin's having a game tonight. Well, we don't call it the game. We call it the meat grinder. The Mammoth says, I got one total party kill, a battle against cannibals. The player roles were awful. I helped them with some role playing, jealousy between two cannibals, extra bennies. This was Savage Worlds. Nothing could save them. Yeah, I have no problem punishing players. I don't want to say it like that. I don't have any issue as a game master myself when the players at the table just, it's one thing if they don't understand what they should be doing. Especially when somebody's new to a game system, you kind of gotta try to hold their hands a little bit, let them get a feel for things. But down the line, when it's like, God damn it, how many times do I have to explain this to this player? I am so tired of having to go through this same fucking thing twice a session, every session. It's sort of like, it's not my job to remember these things for you. And you see, and the funny thing is, I think that is something that we see more and more of. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, running, a role-playing game, or sadly, I don't get an opportunity to play too often. But players would normally have an idea. You'd explain something to them maybe twice, and then you wouldn't have to anymore. It'd be like, yeah, okay, they got it. They get it. They comprehend what the mechanic is, or, you're looking to do this again. Okay, this is the skill on the character sheet that you got to roll against. people would figure it out. Nowadays, it just seems like, maybe I'm wrong here, but it seems as if more and more players expect the game master to do more and more of the heavy lifting. Like I had pointed out just a few shows back, a few weeks ago, probably, that it's sort of like, well, you know, if I'm going to have to run the characters too, then I might as well just go play Baldur's Gate 3. You know, it's like, if I have to explain, you know, every aspect of this every single time we sit down to play, I might as well not even run something. I might as well go play a computer game, because I'm making all those decisions and things like that, and the roles and everything else in the game there anyway. So Matthew Blackwell is with us. They've never had a total party kill. It's funny. I get more invested in the character than the players do. I want to see them progress the story and have their players make it out the other side. I have always been a proponent of what you start to see more and more of in role-playing games, where they talk about the game master should be a fan of the player characters. You don't necessarily have to be a fan of the players, right? But be a fan for the player characters. They're the focus of the adventure, right? And I do think there are some game masters out there who lose that, where it's sort of, and I'm sure you've played in games that were like this, where it was like, why is it every time we turn around, this NPC is here and the NPC is doing cooler stuff than we get to do? What the hell's going on? Right? But so, like I said, fudging dice, I'm not going to condemn someone for doing that, especially if it's to mitigate bad dice rolls. If you want to sit there and hammer away at your players and their characters for bad decision making, not, following up on clues like they should have, or investigating to even find clues in the first place, and just go, barreling full speed ahead, or as we always like to say, I only got one speed, balls out, and then, have them getting their asses kicked and, handed to them. Yeah, by all means. No problem. You take every die roll straight up as it comes. But then again, I'm not going to crucify somebody who is more interested in the players having a good time at the table. You also got to realize sometimes players aren't going to tell you this to your face, but you kill off one of their characters, they're not too happy about it. They resent that sometimes. But then again, you also got players out there who are, just, it's a game. Crying out loud, okay? I didn't kill you in like an alternate dimension, all right? It's just a fictional game. Fictional character has nothing to do with you. Peter Raglet says, I'm the biggest fan of the players that walk out of the crypt covered in blood and chunks of flesh, hopefully from each other. Missing one arm with one hit point, that's just badass. Matthew Blackwell says, in their Romance of the Perilous Land campaign, they're super invested in the story now. Party is about to go to war with an asshole king I want dead, like now. W. Ford says, don't touch your dice after the roll. That's Canadian way. Yeah, exactly. Yes. You mean you don't get to like tap it one more time? Have her think. Chris Leonard says, be selective with your players. It's like they interview you as a GM and you them as well. Most people don't have that luxury. Most gamers out there, they have, okay, this is the group I'm stuck with for the foreseeable future. You know, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to like go to their local game store and get into a group there, or you know, go to a game store and look for, you know, like looking for players, things like that. The vast majority of players and game masters out there, they game with a very small group of people who just, you know, don't change. Mammoth says, I won't say you should fudge or you should never fudge. It's your table, your game. Exactly. And I would also say that circumstances would dictate what you end up doing. So if I were running a Call of Cthulhu adventure and the player characters get to because this has happened, player characters got to the final confrontation and they've played things right. A lot of times in a cosmic horror sort of role-playing game or a horror role-playing game, the right solution is to sacrifice your character to, you know, for the greater good. So in a situation like that, it's like, oh yeah. You start playing some sad music. There you go. Chris Leonard says, just because I run a variety of role-playing games online or in home, not game stores or cons, that might change. They'll adapt. I tell them up front. Oh, yeah. But Chris has an opportunity to vent players because he's got a wide number of people that he can, you know, include in a game. Most people don't have that. Bard the Bear Wolfson says, I had to run family and friends, 11 people. It was rough. Yeah, that'd be tough too, where it's like, okay, so everybody wants to play. Okay. Agile Monk has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Agile Monk. So how do I come down on fudging dice rolls? Like I said, I'm not going to crucify somebody for doing it. And I'm certainly not going to poo-poo game masters out there who stick to, yeah, exactly what the dice say when you roll the bones. So, you know, I think a lot of times too, that in some role-playing games, okay, I take that back. Probably not the role-playing games. I would say it's probably more a GM thing. I think sometimes there's a little bit more dice rolling than there should be in games, where it's kind of like, you know, come on. It's like, let's get real here. Oh, well, you know, there's a 5% chance that didn't go well. Okay, well, that's not a big enough chance to be sitting there. Okay, hey, do me a favor, roll those percentile dice. Just hope you don't roll a 96 or higher. I'd just be like, yeah, okay, we're just doing it. Agile Monk says they're embracing the suck of illness. Well, that's crap. Hopefully you feel better. All right. Anyway, well, that was our topic tonight. I don't know. It wasn't like controversial. I can't believe. No. Nope. I'll be the first to point out I have fudged dice rolls. I'm sure it's pretty obvious from the discussion we've just had. Yes, I have done it. But it's been more to mitigate just awful dice rolling on the part of the players than anything else. On occasion, I will also fudge dice to finally finish up a combat that is just going on forever. Forever. Then I have also fudged dice for that. It's like, oh, nope, yep, nope. They weren't able to parry. Oh, got him. It's like, if you guys can't hit these monsters, I'm gonna. I don't let the players know I'm fudging. But still, it's like, we've been at this for like 25 minutes, and this is a minor, it's supposed to be a little minor battle. Like, yeah, I started having monsters skedaddle. You know, flee, run away. We're winning, but let's go. Ellen Rowe is with us. Welcome. Good to see you. All right. That's it for this time out. Don't forget, I'm going to remind you again in case you popped in late. I have an extra copy of the Pirate Borg starter set as well as Down Among the Dead from my friends over at Limithron and Free League Publishing. So I am hoping to have my review of the starter set done this weekend. I will be sharing a contest for one lucky viewer to win these. So when you see that video pop up, if you're interested in possibly getting your hands on these, check out the video and follow the instructions. Chris Leonard says, would you be okay if the player said, we don't want you to fudge? Yeah, I'd be fine. But the reality is, I don't think most players even think of that. I wouldn't think they consider that in the least. Their assumption is that the game master is running the game like it's supposed to be run. Or the game master is making sure that they're having fun. I don't think most players out there would be like, I wonder if Chris is fudging his dice rolls behind that screen. I wonder. Anyway, all right, everybody. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and take part. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you. Because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or pontificating about a topic. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you know, have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. It's going to be weird here tomorrow. It's going to be like 61. And then Saturday, it's going to be 35. So kind of weird, but it's that springtime weather we're used to in the Midwest. I know, kind of bizarre. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, be sure to select all notifications, because that way, not only will you be notified when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central, it'll also inform you when I share other videos, such as my upcoming review that I just mentioned of the Pirate Borg starter set from Limithron and Free League Publishing. Thank you very kindly for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.